So we have Avengers Infinity War coming out next year, 2018. It is going to be the biggest, most exciting movie to ever be released in film history. It's big, it's grand, it's going to be one of the most expensive, most well put together movies that we're ever going to get. And I'm excited to see where Marvel takes this project. So today I just wanted to talk about a few things. I'm speculating, things I'm thinking that we might see in this movie because of everything else we've seen in the grand scope of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So starting off, there is going to be something with death involved. And I could see this going a few ways. We're going to see some characters get killed off. Characters we know, characters we love. Could be at the beginning of the movie, could be at the end of the movie, I don't know. But there will be death in this movie. And on the other side of that, there will be the character of death. We'll see death personified in this movie as a character. We'll see Lady Death. I would love to see her and Thanos have a scene together where they're just intimate. They know that they can't be together, but they're together anyways. And I would love to see a really nice, strong, beautiful actress portray Death in a way that's unique. It's different, something we wouldn't be expecting. I don't know if they can put Death in a movie, if there's like some domain problem with that, or if they can make their own version. But I would love to see the actress of Eva Green. She was on Penny Dreadful, one of my favorite TV shows. She was on Casino Royale with Daniel Craig's outing as James Bond. She's a great actress. She has this look, this way about her where she feels like she's this gothic horror character, and that's always how I see Death personified. Seeing her play Death would be really interesting, really unique, and it would be gorgeous. And on the other side of that, the characters who could die. Yes, this is something we are kind of familiar with in Marvel movies. We've seen Quicksilver die. That's the main hero we've really seen die. And I really don't know who could die. There are a few ideas I do have, though. I can see Vision being one of these characters that died, because the Vision, this is Infinity War. Thanos got the Infinity Gauntlet. He's going to want to get all the Infinity Gems in order to, wreak havoc. Vision has a gem inside his mind. It could be an ultimate sacrifice for the android. He risks his life to save maybe Wanda, to save the characters, maybe to save the other team of Avengers that are against him. But Vision has to die for Thanos to get in the entire Infinity Gauntlet complete. So you can count on Vision dying, maybe to some aspect, maybe Doctor Strange. I know it's a long shot we just had Benedict Cumberbatch come out last year as this character, but he has an Infinity Gem too. He has the Time Gem, and it's in the Eye of Agamotto, the necklace. So maybe he'll lose the necklace, maybe Thanos will take the necklace away from him, but there's a possibility we could see Doctor Strange dying. Maybe then the gem is reused, go back in time, save him, who knows. And I can see a lot of this stuff playing into a part 2. Maybe we get an ambiguous ending. Maybe we don't know what happens to a lot of the characters. So we have to look at the slate that's between Infinity War and part 2 of the Avengers saga. I'm not certain on all the movies that are in there, but I know Ant-Man and the Wasp is. So that makes me think maybe we won't see Evangeline Lilly play Janet Van Dyne's daughter in this movie. I'm sorry, Hope Van Dyne's her character. Maybe we won't see her play the Wasp in this movie, and we'll see her come in July of the same year. Maybe that means Scott Lang won't be a big character in this, but I'm pretty sure he was confirmed. There's just so much that we can see. But seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp in this would be a little anticlimactic if they have a movie coming out a couple months later. So I don't expect these characters to have a big role. And I don't know if Captain Marvel is between that slate too. I think it might be. So we're definitely getting an introduction to Brie Larson's character as Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, in this movie. And that's really exciting. I recently just watched Room. It's the movie she won the Academy Award for last year. Beautiful movie. She's a great actress. I'm excited to see what she will do as this character of Carol Danvers. I'm excited to see what her costume will look like. They have a really good way of making their costumes. They all look different but feel like the classic comic costume, and that's really exciting. So going back to some characters I think could die. And so I'm going away from the people that have the Infinity Stones, looking at different characters. I don't want to see it. He's one of my favorite characters in the comic books. I read all of the comics that come out with this character. He is one of my favorite actors out there, but his portrayal of this character is a little bit on and off for me, and that's Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. I know it would make sense for Hawkeye to bite the dust in this movie. I don't want to see Hawkeye die, but I understand why he might. And it'd be really sad to see. We get this important scene in Age of Ultron of Linda Cardellini playing his wife, Freaks and Geeks, I love her, and seeing his kids. And that I wasn't expecting that going into this, because I know the Matt Fraction, Asia, David Asia comic, Matt Fraction, David Asia comic. That's one of my favorite comic book stories out there, what they did with the character of Hawkeye. So I wasn't expecting to see him have a wife and kids in Age of Ultron. But that's a good way for him to get this final send-off of the character, is to have him die in Infinity War, doing something balls to the wall crazy, maybe because he's just a guy with a bow and arrow. Maybe he does this ultimate thing and kills one of the big bads working for Thanos. That'd be really cool. And then, okay, so before we go to more deaths, let's just talk about those. The big bads that will be working for Thanos. I don't know a lot about the Infinity Gauntlet story. I don't know the people working for Thanos. But there are a few villains I do expect we will see in this movie that could be working for him. Right off the bat, I'd like to see Loki return. That'd be really cool to see Loki in here. And if maybe we don't have Loki die, because we can't kill Loki, he's one of our main guys. And of course, we're going to have to see what happens in Thor Ragnarok when it comes out in November. So that's going to be good. I want to see Thor Ragnarok really balls to the wall crazy with everything it does to set up Infinity War, to set up all these other movies, because the characters in that are going to be so important for the story going forward. Because we have the Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum. That's exciting. I can't wait to see him do that. So I do expect we will see the Grandmaster in Infinity War, probably working with Thanos. And I would see Cate Blanchett's Hela come back. I love Cate Blanchett. She's one of my favorite actresses. Everything she does, I'm just on board for. So to see her come back and do a bigger movie than Thor Ragnarok, which is already going to be this huge movie, maybe she takes the spot of Death. Maybe we don't have Ava Green play Death. Maybe we have her take the place of Death, be this person that's working with Thanos, likes him, kind of like, we could do something here, but is mainly in control of his emotions, something like that. I can see that going with Hela. I don't know if I'd want it, though. I'd love to see Hela come back and be this enforcement in there. Even Scourge, the Executioner, would be kind of cool. There's just a lot you can do with the whole thing with Thor Ragnarok leading up to this movie. And if we look at the concept art we've seen of Rocket and Thor, I don't think he's going to be holding Mjolnir. So Thor is going to be an interesting character to see in this movie too. I think he's going to be the one to bring everything together besides the Guardians. If the Guardians are in Thor Ragnarok, that'd be really interesting. But I don't know. So going back to some characters that could die, I'm just going to list off a few I think could die. Again, I don't want to see any of these characters die. Nobody does. It'd be really sad. It'd be really devastating. But here are some characters I think could die. We have Hawkeye, already mentioned that. The Vision, already mentioned that. Hank Pym. This could be an interesting one. I can't know right now if he was confirmed for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and if Michael Douglas would even want to do this movie. But if Hank Pym died in this one, I think it could lead perfectly into the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, with Janet Van Dyne's maybe coming back, Hope Van Dyne taking up the mantle. A lot of stuff like that could happen. So maybe Hank Pym. I could see Drax maybe dying. I would not like to see that. It could happen. I'm expecting we won't see Groot die again, because it'd be a little force-fed. We've seen it happen kind of already. It'd be a little too much. Yondu, another possibility. Depends how big of a role he has in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, if we could see Yondu biting the dust or not. He's got the kind of father figure of the group. He's like the oldest guy we'll see actually working with these people. So if we see him make the sacrifice, maybe he stands up against Thanos, maybe he stands up against somebody and does that sacrifice, save Quill. Something like that could happen. I could see. Maybe Rocket. That's a tough one to say, because I do not want to see Rocket die. It could happen, but I'm still expecting the Rocket and Groot spin-off movie, so maybe not. And here are the big ones I think could die. Thor. That would be a tough one to see, but I could believe Thor dying. And then maybe something bad happens. Or Steve Rogers and, Chris Evans. I don't want to see him go. I thought he was going to die in Civil War, and I'm glad he didn't. I'm really glad he didn't. But this is going to be a big movie. This is going to be an epic scale, and we got two fine replacements there to take up the Captain America mantle. Bucky Barnes and the Falcon. And I'd be okay with either of those guys taking up the mantle. They're both really good actors, and I could just see it happening. I don't want to see Chris Evans die. I want to see him continue playing this role. We build up the Winter Soldier more. We can have Falcon. But I think if it were to happen, it would go to Falcon because of the whole thing in the comic books now. And the last one I think could die is Iron Man. we're going to lose one of the main guys from the first movie, from the first Avengers. And it's going to be one of those guys. I don't want to see any of them die, but if Tony Stark would die, it sets up so much more happening, because I think there's been rumors that Riri Williams, the character in the comic books who's currently Ironheart, taking up the mantle from Tony Stark in this, it could be interesting to see. Again, this is so hard to talk about because I don't want to see any of these guys go. They're all great in their roles, but we're getting older. They need to learn to do other things. We need more actors, which is why I was happy to see Tom Holland confirmed for this movie, because I think seeing Spider-Man in here will make things better. I don't expect Spider-Man to play a big role. I think he will have a small cameo, if even. And on the talk of small cameos, how awesome would it be to see the Defenders in here? I know they won't, but I'm expecting something like that. I'm not expecting something big. I know they talked about it before, saying everything's a possibility. But I think even just we have a shot of Spider-Man fighting Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. Maybe even John Berthol's Punisher show up somewhere. You don't have to have everybody. I would like to see them, though. It would be really nice to see. And I would expect to see Iron Fist and Doctor Strange have a connection. So if the characters were in there that's supposed to be there, Iron Fist and Doctor Strange might have a connection, something familiar. Maybe Kunlun is like this off thing of what Doctor Strange went through, something like that. Something like that would be really interesting to see. There's a lot that could happen. So talking about some of the characters that we know are going to be in this and what their role might be, there's an actor who has kind of been confirmed. I can't remember if it's official or not, but that's Peter Dinklage. Best actor working in Hollywood today by far. He's fantastic in everything he does. Never sell the guy out. He is so good, so talented, and I just love everything he does. Tyrion Lannister just blows any performance out of the water in Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones is a beautifully well-acted, diverse cast. And if you can put Peter Dinklage in there and have him be the best, that's just saying so much. So who could he be? I don't know. No idea who he could be. I'm not very familiar with who he could. I've heard rumors of Pip the Troll, and everything I've seen on that character, yeah, I'd love to see Peter Dinklage do that. I've heard people say Uatu the Watcher, which I would be so down for. I would love to see him be the Watcher. That'd be such an interesting take, interesting concept. People said MODOK. That is stupid. If MODOK's in this movie, it'll be a terrible movie. You can say everything good about MODOK. He's a stupid character and a stupid idea to put in Infinity War. Peter Dinklage will be one of the greatest characters that we see in this film. He will steal every scene he's in away from our greatest characters. We have the entire cast of Guardians of the Galaxy. We have Black Panther. We have the Avengers. We have Spider-Man and the introduction of Captain Marvel. And it doesn't matter what happens, Peter Dinklage will be our center of attention for any scene he's in, no matter the character he's playing. Maybe Star Fox? Could happen. Star Fox could happen. Be interesting. Thanos' brother. Just saying. So then, again, we have the character of Black Panther in this movie, like I said earlier. What could his role be? Before this comes out, the last movie is Black Panther, so we'll see Black Panther directly before Infinity War. So there might be something happening in there. I'm expecting at the end of Black Panther, we'll get a post-credit scene where he meets somebody, something like that happens. And maybe he has to awaken Bucky Barnes because this is going to be an all-out war. I do not expect Black Panther to directly tie in to Infinity War. I think it's going to be more of a standalone, more enclosed. We get that world built before we get into this. And another character who I don't know if he's confirmed in this movie or not, and that's Mordo from Doctor Strange. It'd be really interesting to see this guy come back working with Thanos. Or maybe he sucks it up, works as Steven, and they have to defeat this evil because maybe there's an evil sorcerer working with Thanos. Could happen. Something like that could happen. Seeing Mordo come back, maybe he's good, maybe he's evil. Steven sees him, it's like, what? Why are you working with that? That's how we learn. That's how Steven learns that Mordo's evil. Something like that would be interesting to see happen. Again, there's so much that will happen in this movie, and I would not trust this movie happening with anybody else but the Russo brothers because of how good they handled Civil War. Every character, there was not the same amount of screen time for the characters, obviously, but they all were handled with such class, such finesse, and all done so perfectly that I can trust these guys doing anything with these big project. And going back to the comments Kevin Feige said about seeing Thanos finally as a main character, he's going to be the center of this movie. You can have the Avengers in there, of course, but our main drive is going to be watching Thanos collect the gems. And I'm really hoping we're going to get his perspective where we don't see him as this villain, but maybe as a tortured soul trying to find his way back to being happy, to being complete, even if that means destroying others. And that's why I really want to see the personification of death in this movie. So we have this idea of who he is trying to become and who he is. It's such a powerful thing, and it's going to be so nice to see him out of the armor being this regular guy. And I really hope, above all else in this movie, I really hope we get more Howard the Duck. You think I'm kidding? I am not kidding. Seth Green is Howard the Duck. Perfect casting. I loved it. He doesn't have to be in a big scene, but when they teased him in Guardians, I was like, hell yes, this is perfect. Howard the Duck. We need more Howard the Duck in our lives. He's a perfect character. Really interesting guy. I want to see him. I know, I could be talking right now about Thor Ragnarok leading in and how all the Infinity Stones are going to come together. I could be talking about Benicio del Toro as the Collector, how Thanos is going to persuade him to help him, or if he already is helping him, Lady Sith. We could be talking about that. All these things coming together, but I want to talk about Howard the Duck's possible role in Infinity War and how it won't happen, but should. Howard the Duck, he's a character like Rocket. That's a good way to set it up. Maybe he and Rocket meet each other, and then we get to this final epic battle. All these people come up. We have the entire lineup of Avengers, Guardians, all these people together against Thanos and his goons. And then there in the front, you see Howard the Duck holding a martini, and he's like, fuck this, I'm leaving. Later, Rocket. And Rocket's just like, what the hell are you doing, man? So funny, such a great idea to see Howard the Duck be like, screw this, I'm not helping you guys. Oh man, I don't know why I want to see Howard so much. So let's go back to another character I did mention before, and that is the Collector. Yeah, the Collector. Benicio del Toro. So much can happen with this guy. And part of me wants to see him not working for Thanos, but he's this kind of third party. Kind of like Yondu was the third party in Guardians, where he's not really with them, but he knows of them. There's the Guardians, and you got the Nova Corps, and you got Ronan and the Kree, and then you got the Ravengers, which is Yondu. Seeing the Collector just doing his own thing, being like, I'm going to collect these. You're going to use these to kill people? I'm not going to help you kill people. These are for me. And we do know that he has the ether, so he has one of the stones still. So there's going to be a confrontation between him and Thanos at some point. Unless we get the confrontation with Jeff Goldblum's the Grandmaster, and maybe he's working for Thanos. A lot of stuff like that could happen. I don't want to see Thanos as this looming presence in this movie, though. I want to see him in the forefront, kicking ass, being this dangerous guy. That's why I expect him to kill Vision, to take the Eye of Agamotto, to talk to Benicio del Toro, all that stuff to happen. We're going to see Nova Prime get obliterated in this movie. It's going to be intense. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy. And that's where the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, are going to come into this movie. I expect the Nova Corps destruction to be the beginning of the movie. Again, I'm speculating here. I'm expecting the opening scene to be Glenn Close, John C. Reilly, those characters at Nova Prime on Xandar. And then Thanos just walks in with his goons, tears shit up, takes it. The orb, I think it's the power gem, takes it, walks out, destroys the place, and then we see this one shot. This most important shot in the entire movie. That's going to set up everything to happen in the cosmic universe later. The last Nova Prime member shoots away, sends a distress call, setting up that we are going to encounter Richard Rider or Sam Alexander to become Nova. And going back to these characters that could set up a character I'm expecting to see this in this movie that hasn't been confirmed, no casting announcements, but we've seen a tease in Guardians of the Galaxy. That is Adam Warlock. We've seen the cocoon in the Collector's cage. It was broken later. Adam Warlock could appear in this movie. It would be a really good shock for fans, and especially people who don't know this character, to come in, wreck shop. It could set up a Warlock movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It could set up all this stuff. And now, I want to talk about something that's a little bit of the comedic part of this movie. That's what I think is going to happen near the end. I could see this being a post-credit scene if this movie ends good, and if it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. If it ends good, I think there could be this scene where we have Tom Holland and Chris Pratt as their characters. They go to a record shop, and in that record shop, we see Star-Lord freak out because he didn't know all these singers he knew from the 80s had new albums, and he's going through all this stuff. He's learning so much about Earth culture. He sees that there's a new Star Wars movie out. There's so many new movies, the new Ninja Turtles. All these things that he loved as a kid are big and they're prominent now in this time. And he picks up these albums and he's like, I can't believe this. I thought this singer only had 2 albums. Why does he have 7? All this stuff happening. He could learn about Nirvana. And that leads into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that we are definitely going to be getting, having the most unique and different types of music. And I know one of the big parts of Guardians is the music, and I'm excited to see what it is in Volume 2. So to see all these modern more songs and that kind of stuff, maybe Destiny's Child, maybe Smash Mouth, maybe all these things we could see in sync. Could you imagine Bye 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 playing in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? That'd be so funny. So that's a scene I'm expecting to see, something like that. And so I want to go back to some of the characters, some plots I think we could see. Something I'm not going to say anything until we see Thor Ragnarok, but I'd like to see Hulk have a big moment where we see him with Groot and they just can't really talk to each other. It's like, I am Groot, and he's just like, what? I am Hulk. Something like that. Something funny and cute like that. I want to see Hulk wrecking shop. Maybe he's still in his gladiatorial armor. Maybe he can fully communicate now. He can talk. Something so badass. Mark Ruffalo doing a bang-up job with this guy. Something like that would be so cool to see. And, man, what other characters do we have in here? Of course we have Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening with her in this movie because of what happened to her in Civil War. She's going to feel like she can't contribute because she might hurt someone. Might hurt more lives, but I think she's going to have some big scenes of kind of Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange. They're going to help each other out. She's going to learn from him, learn all these things from each other. It could be really fun, really unique to see. I'm excited to see where that goes. And of course, one of the big things we have to remember is at the end of Civil War, we have Team Iron Man, Team Captain America. They're opposing each other, so they're going to have to come back and help each other in this movie. Something I'm excited to see is that angle, to see these characters have to form back this brotherhood, this alliance with each other for the greater good of the Earth, even though they're not happy with each other. And there's so much we could see happen with that. Maybe I'd like to see a scene where maybe Hela is tempting Don Cheadle's war machines, like, I can get your legs fixed, and he's just tempted by that. It's these little things that we could see with these characters. And one of the things I'm most excited for, I alluded to it earlier, is Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. Again, the costume, the character, everything about that. Maybe we see a Kree soldier, Marvel, who comes in this movie and he helps Carol. Yeah, Carol's her name. Something like that happen. There's so much unique things that can happen. This is going to be one of the best Marvel movies. It's going to be one of the biggest. It's shot completely in IMAX. And I want to see this large sweeping scene, classic Smash Bros. Style, where you see all our heroes and it pans away as you see them all standing there. It would be amazing. So good. So fun. And so Marvel. And again, let's see a really great Stan Lee cameo. Who knows where? He could be in space, flying by. Who knows? It could be really good. So if you have anything else you want to talk about with Avengers Infinity War, leave it in the comments below. I'd like to see what you guys think, what you speculate, some of the things you could see happening, some characters you could see dying. So yeah, thanks for listening. Good luck!